Good evening, friends. I want to welcome you all to another Friday Night Live. If you followed us over the last few weeks, months even, you would know that this has become a bit of a habit for us, getting on and talking about different subjects and just wanting to be together with you and share some information that impacts our lives and perhaps impacts your lives as well. I also want to introduce myself. My name is Jeremy. You might notice that by the name on the screen, but I also want to introduce all the other panelists. There's Therese. Welcome, Therese. Welcome to Karina and my man, Chimuka. There we go. So we've got four lovely, well, I should say three lovely because I'm talking about myself. It's never good that way. So I'll say three
That's
lovely.
Right.
Okay. On the
You
screen
too,
that's joined me. Thank you, Karina. Thank you for including me in that. So I'm happy to be included that way. You can see by our smiles that we're excited to be here tonight, to be able to share with you and to be with you tonight. And, you know, when we were thinking about some of the subjects, if you've tuned in the last few weeks, you notice that we've done a bit of a change to our Friday Night Lives, but we're all about trying to connect with things that really mean something to us today, that affect our lives today. And what is affecting us all at the moment, as we're pretty clear on, is COVID. And yeah, there we go, living in a COVID world. In fact, when I thought of the topic for this week, I thought, well, what better could we look at than what is actually happening to all of us? Things have changed dramatically because of the world that we live in. I'm sure all of you guys are aware of all these changes, and it's quite interesting the people I have with me today, because all of you have a different impact that's affected you because of COVID. And it's also interesting being in Victoria. We have just come out of 2 weeks of lockdown, and we're still in a sense in lockdown. We're allowed to go 25 k's from our house. There's some things we're allowed to do, and there's a lot of things we're not allowed to do. We've got to wear masks inside and outside, and it seems to be par for the course for us here in Victoria at the moment. But of course, a lot of things have been happening around the world. A lot of scary things happen around the world, and just generally speaking, we have wars, problems, issues that happen all over the world that really get to us. Yeah, and I just wanted to sort of, this is not necessarily a question, but just want to know how you guys have been feeling, because I know for me, I've got one of these, which many of you guys have, which is a phone. And I tend to have these news feeds that pop up on my phone. I'm not sure if you guys have that, but our phones are really smart these days. And so if you look at something, it tends to bring that same information to you all the time. Have you noticed that? You sometimes wonder, is your phone reading your mind? Okay, because stuff just keeps popping up. And I've noticed that probably since this whole COVID situation, I've been quite interested in topics like what's going on in the world with different, what's happening in Russia, what's happening in China, what's going on with America. And these are popping up. And for me anyway, if I'm really honest, it's created some anxiety. It's created some worry, some of these things. How have you guys been going with that? How have you been dealing? Go ahead, Therese.
Well, I must say, when we first heard of COVID, we really didn't know much about it. And of course, then I was fearful. I was fearful not only for myself, I guess I was fearful for the young ones, my grandchildren, my children, people around us, our church family, my family at large, But I guess now the more we know about it, the fear has actually reduced. I think for the first time in my life, I am 65. I've never been on blood pressure medication. I've never been on anxiety medication. First time in my life, I had to go on those things. And that's how it affected me at the beginning. I'm glad to say I'm no longer on anxiety medication, but I'm sure a lot of people may be on those. And, but things will get better. I'm pretty sure things will get better. The way
I love
these
that.
days.
I love that, Therese. And I know you're not 65, it's 45, but thank you for sharing it.
I think I'm Mother Teresa on here. I'm the eldest.
Karina, you'd like to say something as well?
Yes, I first of all, I praise God, Therese, that you're not on your medications anymore. So that proves that, it's just marvelous that you're not on it. So I have to admit that I don't watch news. I don't watch any news. I don't watch the TV. And I don't even have pop-ups on my phone because I turned all of them off just because it creates anxiety in me. I since a long time now, I cannot see suffering, and just seeing all these things just triggers my, thinking about all these people suffering and thinking of death and these things. So it's just too much. But when COVID came, like Therese said, it was just the novelty of the news, hearing secondhand information from other people. So not researching something is dangerous. So if you hear from other people, you're just like speculating and you don't know what's really happening. So when I read about it, and lucky I have a husband who's in the medical sector, so he explained things to me, but still I was fearing for my family overseas because they're on that little island that doesn't have any resource. They do, but they don't have the ventilators as we have here. So I have to admit I was very, very, very fearful and scared for lots of people around me.
Yeah. That's, where you're coming from, Karina, I can fully get it. And there was just a lot of stuff that was coming, a lot of information that was flowing our way. And ultimately, you got to the point where there's so much out there, it's bombarding you. And I really love the fact that you switched off those notifications, because it can really just get into your head and play with you so much. Like these days, from what I've been hearing, people tend to wake up with these. They might be in their bathroom and they've got this with them, and they're at the meal table, and it can ultimately take over your life with all that information coming through, and it can be quite scary. How about you, Chamorka? How have you been feeling, man? What's going on in the world?
Yeah.
How has that been affecting you? How, just generally speaking?
Myself, not too bad myself, to be honest. I don't know. I don't really feel anything really. It's more family members and people back home that are going through it a lot. And obviously, I had a lot of friends that lost their jobs last year due to the COVID thing. So it was more talking to mates and seeing how they're going with stuff like that, because a lot of them couldn't work from home. Because a lot of them, the jobs just cut. A lot of companies just cut people.
That's right.
They couldn't afford to keep people on. So it didn't affect me as much, but it affected a lot of people I knew, a lot of other people. And then, like Karina said, I did stop watching the news. I watched it for like the first month. After that, I just couldn't watch it anymore. It was just like, it's getting crazy.
Yes.
What are you saying to me, Chamorka? You didn't tune into the hour Daniel Andrews every day that was going on for a while there?
No, I stopped watching it. It became like a movie star. It was on every day.
I think Therese wanted to say something.
I was just going to say, around the world, it affected quite a lot of different countries in different ways.
Yes.
But I'm just going to bring it home. In Australia itself, I think Melbourne is the hardest hit, really, in terms of lockdown. I was talking to Mark before. Mark is my husband, and we were talking. There was 140 days lockdown. So therefore, yes, as Chamorka just said, a lot of people are really feeling it. They lost their jobs or were not able to work, and yes, we're really hard hit.
Which is quite wild when you think about all these impacts. And sometimes perhaps because of the jobs that we may have, some of us have been insulated, and others. And it's sort of, I remember speaking to somebody where they were talking about what they call a two-speed economy, where you have some people that have done really well out of COVID and others have done terrible. And it's like created this massive gap between the two. And there's a lot of suffering that's happening at the moment. And I guess that sort of leads me, the first question sort of been taken out of our hands, because we talked about it. We were looking at how is it been affecting, or what's going on in the world right now. But I want to now get a bit more personal in the sense of your own lives. How has COVID, and some of you've shared already, but how has COVID changed your lives individually? And, you might want to think about things that are happening in your direct family and perhaps stresses that may have come from that. Who'd like to talk about how it's changed their life? Therese, you want to go ahead. Let's do that.
Okay. 2020, my husband turned 60. Of course, big birthday. We would have done a celebration. And because of lockdown, we couldn't do that. He had already booked to go and see his one living auntie who was in her 90s. And that was going to be the very first time he was going to meet up with his cousin from Canada, and they were going to meet in Poland and introduce the auntie to the cousin. That had to be cancelled. In the meantime, the auntie had died. So now the cousin in Canada would never get to see that auntie. So that has affected family lives as well. My daughter got married. We're only allowed to have a certain amount of people, where normally we had a big celebration. So yes, it has actually impacted in a lot of different ways.
Yes. Thank you, Therese, for sharing. Anyone else like to share? Go ahead, Karina.
Yes, I'm just thinking about my kids when you said who it impacted. I think the kids also hearing like secondhand information from Joseph saying be careful, and there's lots of deaths, etc. So it was a very very stressful moment for my children. They kept asking questions and being fearful yourself, and your children asking these questions. So you have to kind of take that anxiety from them and also translate it back on yourself. So whatever you're saying to them, also translate it to your own experience and just try to get over this fear. So the biggest impact in my life is obviously I'm stuck here. I cannot go and see my family, which I used to go every 2 years, and I'm by myself here. My family is all overseas, my closest friends. So so just the fact of not being able to have that closeness with my family was hard. And yes, losing my job, seeing Joseph leave every day, at the hospital, taking care of patients that might be carrying, the COVID virus. So yes, it was a lot to take.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can imagine. I mean, I know your husband works in the intensive care, so he would have been dealing directly with that sort of situation, and so
Yes.
ultimately, all those things, and you've touched on something that sort of we shared in one of the couple other Friday Night Lives. I think it comes down to our state of our mind as well. Yeah, our mental health has been affected, if we're honest. Things that perhaps we used to take for granted that we used to be able to do just at a whim, just when we're going to do this, and I want to go here and I want to do there. And I just saw Johnny message come up there, but when I saw Johnny, I know Johnny loves going on cruises, and that's all gone. That's not happening. It's all our lives have had to take a big U-turn. Go, Corinna.
Yes, I also saw Leonie. I've been speaking to Leonie, and you think about people that were by themselves during the lockdown, how lonely it was, and it's just, it just took a toll. So thanks, Leonie, for sending that message.
Yes. Hey, Therese, go ahead.
Of course, multiple people, Sam and Johnny also mentioned about homeschooling. I know a family with 10 children. Homeschooling was just really, really hard for them because while the eldest is probably doing VCE and all the other little ones are running around, so it's very, very hard to try to homeschool so many children at once. Yeah.
I can see Johnny's missing the cruises there. You're 100% right, Therese. I agree. It was very tough, and even my wife had to take charge of that while I was still going to work with our 3 kids. It was a challenge for her, and if I'm really honest, I have to be honest, I was oblivious to a bit of that last year, because I was still able to go to work. I would jump on my bike and go to work, and I'd get my out time, if you know what I mean. I was out with people at work, and I'd come home, but my wife wasn't able to. Well, it's not so much she wasn't able to leave, but she was sort of locked in that scenario with the kids.
That's right.
I think if I go back to 2020, I know that took a bit of a toll on her, and I know with my son, it took a toll on him as well. I sort of shut a bit of a blind eye to him and not realize that he was going through some stuff at the same time. With all the stuff that's been going on with COVID, right? You have the narrative, you have the information that comes through, and one of the things that sort of developed because of this disease out there is a vaccine has come available, a COVID vaccine. Now, I don't need you to tell me whether you're going to get the vaccine. In fact, I don't want to know. I don't want to know if you're going to get it or don't want to get it. I don't really care whether you want it or not. I think that's an idea of conscience. It comes down to a personal decision. But I do want to ask the question, how do you feel about the COVID vaccine? How does this COVID vaccine, or the idea of a vaccine, make you feel? Who wants to attack this one first? Who wants to tell me how it makes them feel? Therese, you give us a bit of what you want to tell me.
I think we know too much about it in a way. I think conversation that I've had with somebody that actually put me at ease in a way. We can just key and ask Dr. Google, and Dr. Google will tell you a lot of stories about the vaccines, where it came from, how many people may have been affected, and so on and so forth. I don't look at all these things, but I only look at how it's going to affect me. Okay. I've got low immunity, so these are the things that I need to take into consideration. I think as a whole, I think vaccine is they're very good for you, and I've been vaccinated when I was a baby. If I go back to where I came from in Mauritius, I was vaccinated for polio, for cholera, for all these things, and I'm sure my parents never knew anything about them. You just go and get yourself vaccinated, and I've survived. I'm 65 and I've survived all that. I guess people are still very confused, including myself. I can only say it's very hard for me to make that decision,
Sure.
And I think eventually I probably will have to have the vaccine. But at the moment, I'm just weighing, should I, shouldn't I? Should I go tomorrow? Shouldn't I go tomorrow? I think vaccine as a whole is a good thing because it will stop the pandemic from going through. That's my personal view. And I'm not saying anything to anybody else.
Well, I'm really happy. Ultimately, Therese, this is the thing that how do I go about this without being too controversial? There's been a bit of a change in society at the moment where sharing your opinion can be dangerous, and you're going to get people that hate you one way or another. And without being disrespectful, there's something called a Me Too generation or Me Too time, where everyone's coming up and pointing out, oh, this is what I believe. And as soon as you say what you believe, someone's ready to punch you and attack you. And then on the other hand, if you don't share that in itself, they want to attack you on. But I think it's important that we talk about how we feel about it and not judge others. And thank you, Johnny, for your message there as well. Not judge others on where they're at with the decision that they're going through. Karina, did you want to say something?
Oh, no, sorry. I was just listening to him.
Oh, sorry, no. I was going to say, go ahead, Shamulka.
No, I can say something. The COVID vaccine and how I feel about it. I don't know, as you said, a lot of things come through. I've got a lot of friends that are kind of into these conspiracy theories, which I won't go into. I just try to ignore that stuff. And it is, like Teresa said, we do get so much information. Like, it's crazy the amount of things that people have on this thing and all the stuff they believe in and all this kind of stuff. And it's just, I don't know, I find it hard, like, whether, like, is it good to get? Do you take it? What do you do? And I know, because I know my dad's got it right now. He's got the COVID, not the vaccine, but the actual COVID. And he's not doing too well with it. So then you think about, you're like, well, should I get the vaccine? Because obviously the thing's there and it's actually impacting people's lives and stuff like that. So it just messes with your head a bit. It's just, and it's all over the place.
Yeah. Thanks for being brave to share that tonight, Shamulka. I was aware that your dad is suffering from COVID, and he's in Zambia at the moment, which also makes it difficult because there's a separation of the family. But there's a whole lot going on there that ultimately we have to try to deal with. We have to try to sort of capture in our own lives and sort of grasp with. But I guess I'll share one thing from my own family that's going on. And I know with my daughter, some of you may be aware of the fact that she was unwell a little while ago. And one of the things with the treatment that she got when she was unwell, the doctor said to us that it's almost like she's been returned to a baby. They're going to have to re-give her all the vaccines that she got back when she was a baby because the whole system has been reset. And, the doctor sort of made it clear that it's very important for that to happen. Now, again, like I said, that's a personal decision that we are making as a family to go down that path. But it's also something that my wife and I have quite a lot of discussions on. Like, kids at school, sometimes they've got to go have vaccinations. I know there was one, I might be getting this wrong, or someone might be able to correct me online, but I think it was called HPV vaccine. And it had to do with sexual activity, if I put it bluntly. That's essentially what it's for. And we spoke to our kids, to my son and my daughter, and we chose, and they chose as well not to have those ones. But ultimately, there's a vaccine there for a reason, for some of the things that have been going on in society. And so ultimately, that was a choice that we made. But I think what we're trying to sort of share with everybody back there at home or wherever they may be is that it's okay to have an opinion. And it's okay to be fearful about this stuff. It's real, yeah? I think Johnny's, he's talking about the conspiracy theories there.
Yes, we do.
Clarification is a great thing. Karina, go ahead.
I think it's very understandable for people to have mixed feelings, because I was speaking to colleagues at work and they're thinking it's too fast. Like, it hasn't been a long time for the vaccine to actually be tested and to prove that it's trustable, if that's a word. So yes, I think it's good to have certain types of fear, and maybe that will allow you to go and dig more and just research and see what's happening to other people. But also, when you think about what the vaccine is bringing, like it will bring protection to yourself, it will bring protection to vulnerable people. So like you said, we've had lots of vaccines over our lives. There's vaccine for polio, for measles, for rubella, for lots of things. So I don't know. Looking at today, I think there's lots of research that's been done where people are probably more conscious of everything that's in a vaccine compared to what we had long time ago. But I have my reservations about the vaccine, and I also want to do it for some reason. So I want to do it because I want to go and see my family, but I also have reservations where I'm like, okay, is it worth going for? So it's up to personal choice, and it's okay to be scared. It's okay to ask questions. But a colleague at work this week said to me, Michelle, if you're unsure about something, they call me Michelle at work because it's my first name. If you're unsure about something, just get on your knees and pray. And it was not about COVID, it was about something else. So he's like, if you have any doubt about something, just get on your knees and pray. God is always answering. So if you have any fears, any doubts in your head, get on your knees, pray. The Holy Spirit will guide you in whatever decision you have to make. So that's the first advice that I think we should all do. Just pray about it. God will always answer.
I love that, Karina. Thank you so much. And you know what? That's human. All those things you've been discussing, it's human fears. I think you had your hand up, Therese. You want to comment there?
I was just going to say, the Bible actually does say that. First Thessalonians says chapter 5, verse 21 says, test all things, hold fast what is good. So therefore, you're not just going to accept things. Of course, now these days, anything that you do, whether you're going to buy a house, you're going to do some research about that property you're going to be buying. You're going to buy a car, you're going to do some research about the car you're going to be buying. I think it's a normal thing for you to do a little bit of research, and then you make your decision, and the decision that you make is your choice, is your own decision.
I really love that, Therese. I really love the fact that, that the Bible even tells us to go about and do that, to sort of test things, to make sure. And I think this is the great thing that we have. If we're honest, in a country like Australia, we have information that's provided quite freely. There are other countries out there that don't necessarily share this information with their people. And we do live in a really awesome country from that point of view. And it leads me in, because I think where Karina's heading and also where you're heading, Therese, it leads me into that final question. We're going to spend a bit of time. And, I know that, people will sort of say that there was different ways that they coped through COVID. And mind you, when I say through COVID, we're still under COVID conditions. We're still going through it. But if you were to sort of, wind your mind back just to like 2020, how crazy that was, months on end, not being able to see anybody and all that sort of, how that sort of created situations in your life, anxiety and feelings of alone, being alone and not having anyone to communicate with. It was really, really tough for a lot of people. And so I guess my question to the panel, and a final question, but it's going to be a lot of meat on the bone on this one, I believe, is how has your faith helped you during this time? So during the COVID time that we've been experiencing last year, where we are right now, what's going on, it's still not over. How has your faith helped you during this time? Who wants to go first?
I don't want to keep going first.
Therese,
you can.
Therese, you've got the first hand up. If this was bingo night, you've got your hand up, right? Or you said the name. You can't. I have an auntie of mine that loves to play bingo. Not that I play bingo, but she's all into it. And man, she's got lightning fast hands. So, Therese, your hand went up first. Go ahead.
Karina, you can go first. You go first.
Okay.
Give it to Karina.
All right. Okay, so so as I was speaking before, I was very fearful in the beginning when COVID just started about, thinking about my family. And when I called my mom said to me, you should have faith. So where's your faith? And I was scared for them, but seeing that they had faith in them made me remember my faith. So that's when, I just thought to myself, God, our lives is in your hands. So why are we fearing things that kill the body? I know there's a verse that says, I think in Matthew, why do we fear things that kill the body, but that are not able to kill the soul? So if we know that we are ready to face anything, and if we have that faith in God, that whatever happens in our lives, good or bad, that He has a plan for us and He knows how our life is going to unfold. So that's when peace started to come in my heart when I just said, Lord, it's in your hands. Whatever you want to do, you look over the sparrows. There's a song that I love that I always sing. So why should we fear when God has everything in his hands? God has a plan for us. God has a plan for the earth. So that's when I started to relax and think to myself, everything is going to be fine. So there's things happening around us. The Bible predicted these things, but that's when peace started to instill in my heart.
I mean, you talked about that song, Corinne. I don't know it. Can you sing it for me now?
Yes.
Sorry, couldn't help myself. Now, guys, again, I really love the fact that you're bringing that faith factor into it, because ultimately it does have a big effect on how you view these things. And there's quite a lot of Bible verses that there's heaps of them, by the way, but there's quite a lot of Bible verses that help us with that fear, that anxiety that we may be going through. Does anyone want to bring some of these Bible verses just any of the Bible verses that you might want to have a look at and maybe share with the class, so to speak, the people who are watching with us today, all of us today? Is any go ahead, Therese.
Well, I was going to bring Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God." And then it says, "I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." God didn't say, "I may," or "I'll think about it."
I love that.
Will. Yeah.
How does that make you feel, Therese?
Well, I was about what Corinne just said before. That was exactly what I was going to say. Fear does not come from God. Okay, so therefore, but as a human being, we have that sinful nature. So therefore, you are fearful. Once you start during lockdown, you get closer to God, and I guess that's where I was coming from. You tend to go back to the Bible. What does the Bible say? What does God say?
Yes.
I'll get closer to him, and the closer you get to him, the closer then you feel his presence in you. Then you get that inner peace, because it says he will be with you no matter what.
Amen.
If you have that faith in him. Yes.
Amen. Corinne, go ahead.
Or Chimuka, did you want to speak before I do?
I was about to say something there, actually, because Chimuka, the ladies are quick, mate. We've got to be quicker.
Yes.
They're quick with their hands, man. I don't know what, we've got to be quicker than them, okay? We've got to make sure that hand comes up quick. So, again,
okay,
sorry.
Chimuka, you go before me.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say, the whole Psalm 91 really covers it when you've got, obviously the title, I've got the thing up here, it says, "My refuge and my fortress." So I can read a couple of verses from it anyway. Psalm 91.
Yeah,
I'll read 1 to 4 anyway. The whole thing covers most of it. But whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge, my fortress, my God, in whom I trust. Surely He will save you from the foulest snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be a shield, and I don't know, it's cut off 1 second. And rampant, I believe that's finished part is. Sorry.
Yes.
Yep. And rampant, yep. So to be honest, during COVID, I actually found that I actually had more time to read my Bible, more time to do things, because I wasn't spending time focusing on other things I would normally do, because I was working from home, and I actually felt that it brought me closer to God. So COVID was probably better for me in that way as well. So that's how it carried me through all the stuff that people going through. I found was actually a decent year for me in that way as well, because of
That's pretty awesome. I think Karina, you were next on the ticket, weren't you?
Yeah, so I was going to say, Jesus, when the disciples in the boat were fearful, he said to them, "Where's your faith?" So what combats fear is your faith.
Yes.
So your faith is going to be the I don't know, the power that overcomes everything else around you. So having faith in God and knowing that He is intervening, He has His hands in all this, is what's going to take you from where you are. So fearing the outside world and or your own wellness, taking that fear away and fearing God, trusting God, and different fears there, fear of the world and fearing God. So fearing God, knowing that God is in there. So Psalms 56 verse 3 said, when I am afraid, I will trust in you. Trusting in God is just what's going to overcome everything. I'm just thinking of Moses when you know how many excuses he had for God when God said, go back to Egypt and take my people. He gave an excuse, God gave an answer. He gave another excuse, God gave another answer, until what did he do? Finally, he trusted in God and he said, okay, I will go. And Elijah was scared for his life, fearing that Jezebel was going to kill him, like Jezebel killed all the other prophets. But in the end, what did he do? He had faith in God. He trusted God, and God just whispered to him. Didn't come in the thunder or in I forgot all the other ways that God presented to him. I think it was thunder, fire, and I forgot. So just the voice of God speaking to him and telling him, do not be afraid, I am with you. So he trusted God and he went back. So it's okay to fear. Lots of people in the Bible were fearful. David, Moses, Elijah, the apostles, Jonah. So people think that being fearful is shameful, but it's not. It's letting it go too far is probably what's not good. So fear is okay. God has lots of Bible verses that says, do not fear. There's a reason why the verses are there, because God knows that we will fear. So it's not shameful, but don't let it go too far. That's my only advice again today.
I'm loving that. I'm loving the Bible verses that are flowing as well. Johnny's sent something through there from Psalms 23. And interestingly enough, if you ever want to feel some peace in your life, read Psalms. Psalms are great. There's a lot of awesome Psalms there. And one of them that I really love actually is, and I always mention this, and my wife has to correct me because she says that I mention it in the wrong circumstances, but I love it. It's Psalms 118 verse 6, and it says, the Lord is with me, I will not be afraid. What can man do to me? Now, just to give you a bit of a funny situation there, I shouldn't be saying this on live, but I'll do it anyway because that's just who I am. I was speeding one day and I was going about 5 or 10 Ks over, and Kim turned around and my wife and said to me, stop speeding. And I quoted this Bible verse. I said, the Lord is with me. I will not be afraid. What can man do to me?
Oh, no.
Obviously, not the right context, guys. Not the right context to use. And I was having a bit of fun with that. Those of you who know me know that that's who I am. But ultimately, going back to the Bible verse itself, you don't have anything to fear when God is with you. God really creates and can put around you his loving arms, his strong and protective arms that help us to just have the confidence to go through those really difficult times in life. And I love the fact that I think Corinne and both Therese have sort of shared, and Chimorka have shared that fact with the viewers tonight, that it's completely okay to be fearful. Yes, Johnny. Sorry, I can't help myself. But it basically, in the end, it's great to be able to share with people and connect with people and show everybody else that we are all human. Yeah, we all go through that. Is anybody else that'd like to share another, may I have a Bible verse? Go ahead, Therese, or something else. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Johnny just posted something about Psalm 23. Yes. Psalm 23, when I was at work, sometimes I would work until 6 o'clock in the evening, and I used to work in Dandenong, and my car was parked in the Walker Street car park, and I was very fearful walking there. I prayed that prayer every time I was walking to my car. Although I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I was faced when I opened the lift, faced with a group of youth in there, and I was fearful, but God protected me. So yes, Psalm 23, I hold that very close to my heart.
And mine is
Go ahead,
Mine
Karina.
is Psalm 91. My mum always made us recite verses when we were young. So Psalm 91 in French. Thanks, Chimuka, for sharing that.
Yeah,
They just brought
no
back
problem.
sweet memories. So Psalm 91, reading the whole psalm through is very, very comforting. Yeah.
And you know, and that's the whole point of this. Ultimately, these Friday Night Lives. All of us here behind these screens and in our houses, respective houses at the moment, we're all going through the same thing that you're going through. We all have situations in our lives that you're going through as well. We have problems in our work, perhaps problems with family, perhaps connection issues that have been created because of COVID. There's so much that this has taken away. But I did have a discussion with a lady that I work with, and one of the things that I mentioned to her is that one of the keys and the beauty of having faith is that we can focus on the good things. It's easy to focus on the bad. There's a lot of bad. Forget about COVID for a moment. There's a lot of bad in the world. And if you focus on that, it can really take out the joy and the love that you want to share with somebody, that love of God. But ultimately, when you can focus on the good, it's really going to be something that you can share. And thank you, Michael, for checking as well. Yeah, and that's great. Now, those of you who know me know I can talk all night, but we don't have all night. So did anyone, just before we wrap it up and sort of, bring it to a close, was there any final comments that we'd like to mention? Chimuka, be quick if you want to say anything here, because as I said, the ladies are getting quick, right? Okay. See, I told you. Sorry, I was only having fun there, by the way. Yeah. Anyone who wants to have a comment, go ahead.
No, go, Chimuka.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, no matter what we go through, God will always be there for us. That's the real close up from this. Like, there's nothing really to fear. I know we always will fear because, as Karina was saying, even David had fear and he killed Goliath, but Saul came after him and he just bolted. It's like he forgot what he just done. So, and he killed thousands of men before that, but it just went away. So fear happens to everyone no matter what. So just know that God will always be with us.
100%. And I just saw reverse it. Sorry, go ahead, Therese.
Sorry, I was just going to say, God already knows before we ask him anyway, but he just wants to have that relationship with us. Then he wants us to pray and bring our petitions to him and talk to him. And that's what we need to do, just talk to God. And it boils down to a matter of faith.
100%. I just saw a verse that Isabel posted up there, and it's one of my, I can't help it, I'm going to have to say it, favorites. It's in 1 Peter 5, verse 7, where it says, cast all your anxiety or cast all your cares on him, for he cares for you. And that is really, that sort of sums that up, doesn't it? It really brings it all together for us tonight. I mean, guys, I'm so thankful that you joined us tonight. I know there was a bit of concern about jumping on tonight and talking about COVID. There's a lot of people that perhaps will even comment about what we said here tonight. And, I want you at home to realize that it's okay to have an opinion. I want you at home to realize that it's okay to think for yourself. Don't necessarily have to worry about what others are doing, but, do the research, work it out for yourself, what you think that you need to do. And let's not judge others, because the Bible tells us, do not judge others lest you be judged. It's really, really important that we don't do that. But I do think that we can help to make the world a better place by sharing the love that God has shared with us. I think all of you panelists that are here today, Karina, Therese, and Chimuka, can agree on that fact that there can be a bit more love in the world, wouldn't you say?
Oh, man. Yes,
right.
For sure.
Fantastic, guys.
Sure.
Well, I feel that it's probably great. Thank you, Johnny. Let's find ways to support others. Absolutely. I want you guys at home to take the opportunity to cuddle your loved ones, to tell someone today that you love them and you care for them. If this has made you think of your family that may be overseas that you can't connect with, after this, connect on Zoom or whatever way you can connect with them. Let's show people that we love them. That's really what we're here to do. And if people are going through difficult times through these times, if we've gone through difficult times because of COVID, let's share our experiences together. It really does help. For the viewers tonight, I hope you got something out of our program tonight. And if it's okay, I will just close off with a short prayer. Don't want to offend you. At work, sometimes I do a prayer when we have a work lunch. And I know some of the guys are happy and some are not so happy. So I don't want to offend you, but I'm going to pray. Let's just bow our heads together and have a quick prayer. Lord Almighty, thank you so much for your blessings. Thank you that you brought us here tonight to share and to just be real with each other about how we feel. Lord, it's fully okay. You're all good with us being scared. You're all good with us seeing our need, because ultimately when we're scared and when we see our need, we actually do realize we need God in our lives. Sometimes we don't always realize that that is actually the part that we need to fit in. You know, we've got a square and we're trying to put a round thing into that square, you know, and it just doesn't fit. But ultimately with you, Lord, you fit every single time. You fit every single time into our lives in all the problems that we may have. And I want to pray for everybody who's watching this or anybody who will watch this, that, Lord, you will be that part that fits and helps them to feel whole. Bless us tonight, Lord, I pray. May everyone have a great night. And I pray all these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody. And thank you, panel, for being involved. I want to say goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.